We are people in our bones. That's right, y'all. We have not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in our soul. Last line. If you listen, you can hear them in our soul. One more time. If you listen, you can hear them in our soul. Thank y'all so much, y'all.
Make some noise for yourselves for singing. Thank you very much. Peace.
So we are here to talk about the U.S. war machine. I'm not one of these people that's against all war, but I am against U.S. wars done in our name that in the Middle East over the last 15 years have killed 2 million people. Think about that for a minute. The government estimates, if they bother to count at all, that a couple 100,000 people maybe have been killed by the U.S. wars, starting in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Libya, Palestine, Somalia, the Sudan. Where does it end? You know, it really only ends when we say we're going to stop the U.S. war machine. So we're going to practice saying it right now. We're going to stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to the Philippines. We're going to stop the U.S. war machine from Palestine to the Philippines.
Money for jobs and education, not for wars and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for wars and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for wars and occupation.
We're gonna stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to the Philippines. We're gonna stop the U.S. war machine from Palestine to the Philippines. And you smart marchers are gonna fill in all the names from Iraq to Yemen to the Sudan to Somalia, all the places where this empire has wreaked havoc in our name. I want to call your attention right there to that model of a Reaper drone. That is not a toy. It is a 1/5 scale of a Reaper drone that flies all over the world right now. That's a weaponized drone with Hellfire missiles. And it is usually operated from the United States, from some trailer somewhere at Creech Air Force Base or upstate in New York. These are really killing people right now, like this young girl who was killed in Pakistan. These are the victims of the U.S. war machine. This is completely unacceptable. And it is only up to us and our resistance, the people. Ain't no politician that is going to stop it. Certainly not one that's running for office right now. And Donald, who? Donald Trump says what? Cut off the heads of ISIS and kill their families. Destroy their families. This is a war criminal that people are seriously looking at right now. And thank God that our comrades and friends in Chicago denied him the ability to speak on Friday night. If he ever has the nerve to come to New York, I want you all to join me and be out on the streets, because we're going to stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to the Philippines. Stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to the Philippines. Stop the U.S. war machine from Palestine to the Philippines. You get the idea. World can't wait. And end the U.S. drone war.
And he was working in a hospital in Kunduz. He was downstairs sleeping on the overnight shift, and suddenly there was a huge explosion, and Khaled and the main pharmacist ran upstairs and realized that they were being strafed. They were being bombed by a United States warplane. And they had called in the coordinates for the hospital, and Doctors Without Borders quickly called the United States military and said, "You're bombing a hospital." But the bombing continued from 2:05 in the morning until 3:15 in the morning. 42 people were killed, patients burned in their hospital beds. And Khaled Ahmed asked me, "Why did your country want to kill us? We were only trying to help people." Recently, Doctors Without Borders released a terrible tweet. They said, "Has bombing hospitals become the new norm? When the United States gives the okay, the green light, to bomb hospitals, then other countries begin to do the same." Prosperous countries that are intervening in other lands, often using weapons made by the war profiteers in this country. You'll walk today to the United Nations, where there's a beautiful wall that says, "When shall come the day, O Lord, when they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift the sword against nation, nor shall they learn the ways of war any longer." We've got it backwards, my friends. We're turning the plowshares into weapons. We're turning our own good resources over to the Pentagon, and they're using it again and again and again for bloodshed, murder, mayhem. Joe, the thing that could recommend me to possibly speak about peace is that I haven't paid my taxes since 1980. I can't and I won't. Not one time. So let's think about how we can withdraw our consent from war profiteers everywhere and support conscientious objection to war everywhere, and be glad that Khaled Ahmed gives us that question. Why would they want to kill me? I was only trying to help people. Thank you.
They perpetrate abroad. The military gear that they use on poor people and marginalized people abroad, they bring it back here and use it against black and brown people in our cities and towns of this nation. So when we say stop the war at home and abroad on black and brown bodies, it's cyclical. We're showing solidarity. Hands off Yemen, hands off Syria, hands off Somalia. Get out of Sudan, out of Honduras. Venezuela, that's right. So I just want to say in closing, all lives will matter when Black lives matter. But we have to remember, black and brown bodies are being destroyed everywhere, and we must stand together or we shall fall together. Thank you. I would like to ask Raymond Nat Turner to please come to the stage. Raymond, he's here. Mr. Turner has introduced James Baldwin. He's currently a member of the People's Organization for Progress. Please give him a big hand.
Boom, 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 boom. We must put an end to the culture of war. Phase out oil that it kills folks for. As long as there's greed, there can be no peace. Boom, boom, boom. Imperialist bloodshed simply must cease. Hey, take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey, Take to the streets in protest in the UK. Take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey, come on now. Take to the streets in protest in the UK. Our war is here against hunger and greed. And racist bloodshed on which fascists feed. Into battle for homes and health. Oh! Soften up enemies to liberate our wealth. Hey! Take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey! Take to the streets in protest in the UK. Take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey, hey, hey. Take to the streets in protest in the UK. Pay no attention to forked tongues in their polls. Listen to the voices that are deep in our souls. Take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey, hey, hey. Take to the streets in protest in the UK. One more time. Take to the streets in protest in the USA. Hey, hey, hey. Take to the streets in protest in the UK. Hey.
Thank you. We are here to stand with everyone in Chicago on Friday who shut Trump down. Because that's the kind of people's movement we need all over the country that says no to racism, no to Islamophobia, no to the wars, no to the attacks on immigrants, that says yes for people's struggle and resistance and does it in the streets and in the arenas. That's a kind of people's movement that is needed all across the country, and that's a kind of people's movement that makes real change. We're here to stand with the people of Syria who are resisting a U.S. war and takeover, and people of Yemen who are under U.S. Saudi bombs. We're also here with the people of Flint who are facing a poisoning of their water, and the same for people in Newark. All across the country, the wars come home in real destruction right here. In both racism, in attacks on immigrants, but also in the destruction of our schools, the water, the infrastructure. All of that is part of the war on the world and a war on the poor and working people right here. None of these issues are being addressed by any of the major candidates. So when we talk about resistance, we want to connect with the Black Lives Matter movement, who has again and again been in the streets shutting it down against mass incarceration, against police murders. That resistance has put everyone on notice, and it's put NYPD on notice too. It's also been a training for the kind of resistance we need against Trump and against whoever is elected, because they carry out U.S. wars. Now, with people's resistance, I want to really introduce our next speaker, who is running on a people's campaign against racism and war, against attacks on immigrants. Monica Moorhead, she's a presidential candidate for Workers' World Party, and she's part of the example of the movement from below that addresses people's needs. Thank you. Monica Moorhead, next speaker.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here today. I want to thank all of the members of UNAC for calling this very important demonstration that comes in a very timely way because of the sham of elections that are going on right now. Yes, I am a presidential candidate, but I'm no Hillary Clinton. Let's make that very clear. Because we feel that, as my sign says, war cannot be voted away, racism cannot be voted away, and all oppression cannot be voted away. We stand in solidarity with the peoples of the world who are resisting U.S. imperialism, from Palestine to Syria to Ukraine to Africa, Asia, Latin America, all over the world. We say U.S. out! U.S. out! Now, sisters and brothers, I don't have a lot of time, but I do want to say this about our election campaign. We are for abolishing capitalism, because capitalism is at a dead end. We are for revolutionary socialism, because if we want to meet the people's needs and not corporate greed, we have to get rid of the system that causes all the suffering and misery in this country and around the world. So you cannot have revolutionary socialism if you don't get rid of capitalism. And I also just want to end on this note. Our campaign stands in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. We must defend this movement, because as we're seeing all over the country with these neo-fascist Trump rallies, it is our Black Lives Matter sisters and brothers who started the disruptions against Trump in the ones and twos. And now you can see that it's broadened out, not just the Black Lives Matter movement, but young Latinos who are being threatened with this racist war and wall that Trump is promoting. And anti-racist whites are also joining the struggle, many of whom were part of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So we must defend our sisters and brothers who are disrupting these rallies, because racism should have no voice. Racism should not have the First Amendment right. White supremacy must be fought. We cannot allow this to happen, because they're the real perpetuators of violence. And our young people have every right to stop this violence by any means necessary. By any means necessary. So we cannot allow our young people to be violence baited by CNN or MSNBC or any pro-bourgeois media. So let's defend them, whether they're demonstrations large or small. We have to show this concrete solidarity with our young people who are fighting neo-fascism, that are fighting police violence, who are fighting state repression. We cannot allow them to be alienated, because that's what the ruling class, that's what the government wants, so they can pick them off one by one, as they did the Black Panther Party in the 1960s. So in the spirit of our sister, Berta Cáceres, who was assassinated by the U.S.-backed Clinton Honduran regime, in the spirit of Rosa Parks, whose shirt I wear in such, and proudly, I want to end with these chants. Liberation, not deportation. Liberation, not deportation. Liberation, not deportation. All lives will matter when Black lives matter. All lives will matter when Black lives matter. All lives will matter when Black lives matter. Long live international solidarity.
Yeah, I used to be part of the old empire, going out and marauding all over the world, and now I'm with you guys and gals who are saying no to U.S. imperialism, no to more war by the United States, to stop these wars. And yes, I just got back from an international meeting about the next time we go to challenge the Israeli blockade of Gaza. We're going to send a women's vote to challenge those Israelis, to challenge the oppression to the Palestinians. And as we challenge the oppression right here in the United States, with the oppression of men and women of color, men and women who are in jail, the mass incarceration, where we support the Black Lives Matter, where we are telling our government to stop the oppression here in the United States and stop oppression abroad. So stop all wars! Stop all wars! Stop all wars! Stop all wars! Thank you.
Hindi kami magpapaloko, pabangon sa pang-aabuso, malakas kami talino, humanda na kayo, sama-sama kami
Thank you.
Thank you, God's Philippines.
We say peace to the poets who propagate peace. With love in their hearts to operate on these streets. We salute your voice when they don't want us to speak. When an injustice takes place to any one of my peeps, I won't back down, I won't be at ease. I can't stay shut when little kids can't eat. When grandmothers get evicted and ain't got a place to sleep. While companies make trillions but won't give a piece. To deny ourselves of our global family is to deny ourselves of our own humanity. But with the ancestors guiding, no cliff is too steep. We hold it down with y'all, know where we propagate peace.
We say peace to the poets who propagate peace, and power to the people who march in these streets, and word to the workers who walk in bare feet, and light to the writers who fight to get free. I see me in you, and you in me, in the streets of Cochabamba, taking back El Agua, rocking Sandinista parties when we took Managua. I shook my fist in Nueva York, yelling no a la guerra. Environmentalists to protect la tierra, and I'm a feminist porque respeto mi madre. Soy padre y bebé, the struggle of every day. Abuelita y hijito, soy la gente que grita. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. I'm the people united, and I will never be divided. I'm the people who riot, and I will never be quiet. I'm the one to rebel for those stuck in the cell. I'm the people who see we are not yet free, cause I am the people, and the people are me. Peace.
The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying shut this system down. Come on, y'all. The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying shut this system down. I got it. The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying shut this system down. Come on. The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying shut this system down. The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying shut this system
Sing that with
down.
us.
The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter
Saying, "Shut this system down, y'all."
Shut this system down. Let's do this.
The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing shut this system down. Come on. The people gonna rise like the water. We gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing shut this